Hi, I wanted to make this video to go over just like some tips that I had when installing the Fisher Paykel French door fridge. I couldn't find too much on the internet. There is a more comprehensive guide, not that this is meant to be a guide of the installation process, and I'll leave a link to that video below. So before it slides in, you have to install an anti-tip bracket in the back, which is attached to your wall. The key about this bracket is you have to make sure it overlaps the fridge when it's fully pushed in, by at least about 2.5 inches. If not, then you have to put a piece of wood or a block to mount it onto your wall to give it that extra distance. Here's a picture of the back of the fridge. One thing that tripped me up was trying to figure out where the water hose went into, the 1/4 inch water tube. If you look at the bottom left, there's a little hole. You stick the tube through the hole and you can see it coming out through the front, and you're supposed to hook it up in the front to the pressure valve. It's the valve right in the middle of the grill. Most water tubes have a bend to them, and this will cause the tubes to just try to coil in once you insert it through the hole. So what I needed to do was basically hook it and pull it out to the front, as I saw it coiling up inside the bottom of the fridge. In order to hook it, I just took a paint stick and I taped an Allen key to it, and I shoved that underneath, and the Allen key hooked onto the tube that was trying to coil around, and I gently just pulled it forward. And it took a couple tries, but I eventually was able to grab it with my hand and pull it to the front of the fridge. Once you've got the tube in the front, you just stick it into the pressure valve, and then you secure it with the collet locking clip. And that clip goes around this little sleeve that pulls in and out. It pulls out to secure the tube into the pressure valve. And so you want to keep that little sleeve out with the collet clip, and that'll keep it tightly secure, and just like pull on it to check. And then you turn on your water to check for any leaks. Next, you have to prepare your panels, and it's not really that tricky. Just one mistake I made was, so they give you this template and it'll tell you which side of the template to use for which panel, and you align it with the bottom corner of the panel. But one thing to note is that you have to double check the thickness, because I have these shaker style cabinets and it's not the same thickness throughout the entire panel. And so the middle, it's got a 2-inch border, that's the regular thickness, but as you go in for the 2-inch border, it gets thinner. And the template indicated that I should be drilling at this one spot, and that spot was actually in the thinner part. And so if that happens to you, you have to find another place to drill. Some of the plates that you attach do have multiple holes that you can use, so you want to just check with that. This problem occurred for the bottom drawer panel, and it was for the hanging plate, which had additional 4 holes along the top which I could use. But I did drill through the panel by accident by using the guide and not double checking. So you always want to double check that the guide is telling you where to drill, and that spot is at least the thickness that you're expecting. Another option is that you can just not drill as deep. So for that one particular spot, we'll have a shallower depth for your pre-drilled holes. Before you push in the fridge, you want to make sure that the cord in the back is not kinked and that nothing's being rolled over, or I guess everything's okay in the back of the fridge. They do give you a sticky hook to suspend the cord so that it'll just fold in nicely vertically. In order to check the back of the fridge, I made this contraption with a broom handle, and I taped my iPhone to the end of it, and then you can see I used a little space to push the broom handle through, and then just start taking a video or picture of the back of the fridge. And by watching that video, you can tell if there are any places where things are being hung up. Fortunately for me, everything was okay. I didn't have to pull the fridge out again and get up behind there to, I guess, reposition some of the the cord or the water tube. So with the panels installed, I pushed in the fridge and I made the adjustments for the side gaps, and I made sure everything was aligned properly and was looking nice. And once it was pushed in, I actually took the panels off again to install the side trim. The side trim is that long piece that runs from the top of the fridge to the bottom. And when I initially installed the side trim, it would stick out so that you could see it at the bottom of the fridge. You're not supposed to see any of it at the bottom of the fridge. It's supposed to push up right to the very top, and it squeezes in at the top beside that extra top trim bar that you screw onto the top of the fridge. It's a tight fit, but it'll fit through that or beside that. And the only way to do that install is with the panels off. Another thing I wanted to mention is how close your panels need to be to the door. So when I first installed them, I tried to make it all flush with the bottom drawer because the bottom drawer stuck out a little bit. You can't really notice it, but I tried to make the top panels flush with that by sticking them out a bit as well. The problem when you don't have the top panels really tight up against the door is that they won't open properly. There's very little clearance when they open along the corners or the hinge part. Like it just barely squeaks by your adjoining cabinetry, and so those have to be really tight. They actually tell you how thick the maximum thickness of the panels can be. I think they give you some tolerance there, but that panel should not stick out more than 3/4 of an inch. Maybe you'll get away with an inch from the actual door. Otherwise, the door won't open properly, and you'll get some rubbing of the hinge side of the door with the adjoining cabinetry. Or worse, what it was doing for me was actually catching on the adjoining cabinetry and changing the position of the fridge, like by physically pulling it out of the cabinet spot. Because at this point, I didn't have it locked in. It'd be even worse if it was locked in because it'd probably break something, but it would roll the fridge out and it wouldn't be flush. So you want zero contact with the doors and adjoining cabinetry so that doesn't happen. So here's what the final product looks like. I got the fridge flush right up against the cabinets. It didn't stick out at all. And yeah, everything worked out pretty much as I expected. Just that one part where I drilled through the bottom panel, but I'm going to buy some putty and do a little touch-up paint on that, as well as paint that white molding at the bottom there. And then I should be done with this fridge install. Hope you liked the video. I put it together really quickly because I didn't want to spend too much time after such a long fridge install. But if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. I will probably answer a few questions for a month after I post this. Thanks.